Red Dead Redemption 2 is a visually stunning game with an enticing story and intricate characters. It is one of my favourite games of all time to this day, and probably a lot of other people's too. But what about the online? Red Dead Online released in November 2018, 1 month after the release of Red Dead Redemption 2. Clearly Rockstar was wanting players to get hooked into the campaign within the first month of release, then jump into the online for more content, which would have been great if online had enough content. Red Dead Online's release was just an empty shell of what the campaign was. Yes, the beautiful open world was still here, but that was about it. All you could really do were some unfinished story missions, stranger missions that didn't really go anywhere, hunting, fishing, and some PvP.
You stupid motherfucker! Hey, don't pound! Hey, don't pound! You shut your...
And talking about PvP, if you think griefing is a problem now in Red Dead Online, imagine if every single player was visible in the map at all times, with no way of avoiding it. You can imagine how fun of a feature that was. That paired with the varmint rifle that everyone used, since a headshot would always one-shot at any distance. And to make that matter even worse, aim assist and auto-aim were much stronger, making kills with this gun even easier. It was just a mess. But it wasn't just the PvP and lack of content that was messy, because the game was also extremely buggy. Now, Red Dead Online has always been pretty bad for bugs, but it felt much worse back then, since there wasn't nearly as much content to help mask it. But despite all these issues, there was something they added that worked flawlessly. Gold bars, which was a currency you had to buy with real money. Gold bars would make everything in the game much easier to buy, and at the same time the game just so happened to give you low money rewards for missions and selling goods, while also making everything in the game extremely expensive. Almost like they want you to buy these gold bars for a game that is still in beta and is clearly unfinished. They actually ended up making everything 40% cheaper because of the backlash, and even then everything was way too expensive. Also, don't even get me started about how selling gold wedding rings used to get you $1.10 while a can of baked beans cost $1.20. So overall, a pretty disappointing start for Red Dead Online. But to be fair, it was called a beta, so surely this was just a rough start of something great. The first new update came out in January 2019 and featured the one thing everyone was asking for in Red Dead Online: a battle royale mode. Gun Rush was a PvP mode where teams would battle to become the last one standing. The area you could play in would shrink, and you could loot for armor and different weapons. I don't know why I'm explaining what a battle royale is right now. As most of you probably know, in early 2019, battle royales were taking the gaming space by storm. Fortnite was the most popular game ever at this time, and I guess Rockstar thought they could jump on the battle royale bandwagon. This update was honestly the first red flag for Red Dead Online. It showed Rockstar's true intentions from the get-go, as they'd rather hop on trends to grow their player base than make updates to suit the player base they already had. As you can imagine, this mode didn't really catch on, as this wasn't the kind of thing that interested Red Dead Online's main demographic, especially for those that came from the realism-focused campaign just to be greeted with a battle royale mode. The next update was not too long later, however, as at the end of February we got the beta update. Now, as bare bones as that may sound, it did have a very important addition: daily challenges, which made earning gold much easier and actually started to make the Red Dead Online economy fair, if not a little too fair. But still, this was a major turning point in the game, as you could earn up to 5 gold a day just by doing daily challenges, which may not sound too crazy, but it added up. Rockstar changed this later down the line, probably because they realised how much money they might be missing out on from how grindy the game was beforehand, but it was good while it lasted. Really wish we had a Gun Rush 2.0 though. That waste opportunity, honestly. In May, Red Dead Online finally came out of beta and new life was given to the game. Lots of bug fixes and balance improvements were made, but best of all, we actually got new content, like new stranger missions, new PvP modes, new Land of Opportunity missions, and most beloved of all, poker. Obviously, we got new clothes and weapons too, but one new weapon stood out: the Lamat revolver. This was the first new weapon to be added that I bought immediately, because of one reason and one reason only: it could shoot shotgun shells and revolver rounds, which is just badass, like come on now. So clearly this was a pretty substantial update for Red Dead Online, but not only did Rockstar take the game out of beta and actually add features the players wanted, they even made a news post talking about their big plans for the game and promises for consistent new content over the coming months. For the first time, Rockstar was actually communicating properly with the player base, and because of that, it really gave players a sense of relief and hope for a game that may have had a rocky start, it seemed to be heading in the right direction at last. And heading in the right direction it did, as in September they released their biggest update yet, with changes that I didn't even know were needed, like faster movement and animations, making the game feel less sluggish and tiresome. Things like running, reloading, weapon swapping, and even skinning animals were made faster. And honestly, this change made so much sense. The prior movement made more sense for the campaign side to the game, but never really fit well with the online, especially during PvP modes, which this game was really focused on. A bit too focused on, if you ask me. This change alone was really good though, and was one that I didn't know was needed until it happened. They also essentially added a battle pass called the Outlaw Pass. Really subtle, I know. They had to copy something from battle royales, I guess. Honestly though, as easy as it is to criticize a battle pass system being in games that have nothing to do with battle royales, it was actually a good addition. You most likely had the 35 gold bars needed to buy it within a week of doing daily challenges, and you got the gold bars back after completing it. That paired with it being pretty easy to level through and featuring some good looking cosmetics, it made the Outlaw Pass quite an appealing new addition. So overall, I liked it, and for once Rockstar wasn't just trying to peddle microtransactions in their game. Now, the main attraction for this update was 3 new roles that had been added that dramatically changed how you can play and earn money in the game. These roles were Collector, Trader, and my personal favourite, Bounty Hunter. All of these roles were pretty self-explanatory. Collector would involve using treasure maps to find and collect treasure and sell it for a reward. Trader would have you hunt animals and trade them in for materials and new skills, and bounty hunting would have you track criminals down and take them to a sheriff's office, dead or alive. Preferably alive, you know, if you want more money. In my opinion, this is where Red Dead Online truly peaked. I had the most fun I ever had on this game during this update. I just loved this update, and I think it really showed the true potential Red Dead Online had. Just the sheer amount of different roles this game could potentially have was enough to get me excited for what was to come. Thankfully, we didn't have to wait too long though, as in December, Rockstar released the Moonshiners update, which featured the Moonshiner role, some new cosmetics, new guns, and another Outlaw Pass. It also featured a new story of the role, which was pretty short but still enjoyable. The Moonshiner role itself was quite fun too. It's basically the Red Dead equivalent of the bunker in GTA Online, but with moonshine instead of guns and drugs. And obviously, instead of driving a car or truck, you're on a wooden wagon that feels like it might disintegrate if you run over a big enough rock. The Moonshiner role also gave you access to the shack you make the moonshine in, which is basically the closest you could get to owning your own house in Red Dead Online. So yeah, overall this update was pretty small, but it was still a good update, and helped add more variation to what you could do to make money in Red Dead Online. However, many players started to come across tons of bugs and glitches shortly after the Moonshiners update released. Some would be fairly harmless, while others would drastically hurt the game, like having no animals spawning. Personally, I didn't have anything that noticeable happen during this time, but apparently the majority of players did. During a time in need, Rockstar done what Rockstar usually does, and disappeared. In December, Rockstar released the Bounty Hunter update. The first big change in this update that really made players motivated to keep playing the game was heavily nerfing daily challenges. You heard me right, the main source of gold bars was nerfed, meaning you couldn't make anywhere near as much gold as you could before. What's funny though is this was actually the update that got me back into the game, since it was an update for bounty hunting, my favourite role in the game. Also, the new Outlaw Pass was great since it had cosmetics mainly for bounty hunters, which I obviously liked. The bounty hunter role was given more levels, more missions, and legendary bounties, which felt like story missions where you'd make a lot more money and have more complicated or difficult bounties. Overall, I really liked this update since having extra content for the role I mainly played in the game anyway was amazing. But for players who were more interested in other roles or were expecting a new one, it was just another disappointing update. The Blood Money update was the final nail in the coffin for Red Dead Online. It was the last big update that was promised for summer 2021, and people had high expectations. The description for this update included the phrase high-stake robberies, which obviously made everyone who was even mildly interested in this game start to get excited. The most requested feature for Red Dead Online has always been robbing banks and doing heists. So when banks were also randomly explorable for the first time, not too long before this update, it made everyone drastically more hyped. When it finally released though, it was just the same old stuff. The contracts were pretty much glorified infamous bounty missions, and the high-stake robberies would get you around the same amount of money as legendary bounties. Yes, you were stealing valuable stuff, but in classic Rockstar fashion, a good 90% of these profits would just go to the person who set it up. You're probably wondering though, why were the banks randomly open then? Turns out it was just a badly timed bug. Either that or Rockstar just likes torturing its players, which to be fair isn't a bad shout. So after this incredibly disappointing update, what does Rockstar do to try and get the players back on board? Well, it's Halloween time and they have one more trick up their sleeve. What Halloween themed update could they make that all Red Dead Redemption players would love? Something that has been long awaited. Something that could single-handedly save Red Dead Online's reputation. Yeah, they didn't add zombies.
What are they, vegetables or fruit? And what does that make? Ketchup.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Instead, they just added some Halloween-themed PvP modes and some weird cultist enemies for some reason. The Halloween update was just a complete waste of potential, and to be honest, was pretty poetic, since Red Dead Online as a whole has been wasted potential. But just when the game finally has the most obvious glimmer of hope, Rockstar just walks past the glimmer and takes a flight to the other side of the world. It's just sad. Blood Money was the last proper update to Red Dead Online, and in December 2021, Rockstar completely abandoned the game. No small updates, no weekly events. Instead, they start giving out offers and promotions once a month to their remaining loyal players, which pretty much signaled the end of Red Dead Online. The players that were left tried once more to get Rockstar's attention by using the Save Red Dead Online hashtag all over social media. This was the biggest fan movement for the game by far and caught the attention of many people, including some big content creators. But of course, Rockstar never responded, and in the summer of 2022, they released a statement saying they are working on the next Grand Theft Auto game and their focus has shifted to that, which makes sense, but it still sucks to see. Because at the end of the day, Red Dead Online was always seen as an inferior game to Grand Theft Auto in Rockstar's eyes, and you can see that from the sheer amount of money they make to this day from GTA 5 Online. So why would a multi-billion-dollar company that's sheer purpose is to make as much profit as they possibly can focus their efforts on something that makes them nowhere near as much money, especially when they don't even need to make new content for GTA Online. All they have to do is add a couple new vehicles and they're set for another month or two. And what's even sadder is they had already been adding more DLC for GTA 5 Online, which is a 10-year-old game, keep in mind, instead of one that had been out for not even half that. It's just sad to see, but it's not exactly surprising. Rockstar has proven time and time again where their main priorities lie, and it's not surprising that it's with their biggest cash cow. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I put a lot of effort into this one, so if you liked it, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.